Hello, guys. Now we are on chapter 10. The title of chapter 10 is The Cluster of Blessings Brought by the Bodhisattvas of the Earth. Now, if we go back to the fundamental question, that what is the fundamental objective of the Lotus Sutra? The Lotus Sutra was revolutionary at that time, and it was it talked about universality, it talked about equality and instant buddhahood, right? It talked about ceremony in the air, it talked about the vow which bodhisattvas of the earth took during the ceremony in the air. It talked about treasure tower, it talks about a lot of parables. However, if we look at the fundamental objective of the Lotus Sutra was none other than revitalizing people from the depths of their lives and changing the world into a true realm of happiness and peace. So that is what was the fundamental objective of Lotus Sutra. And the intent was not just to focus of that just to focus on that time, but on the later day of the law, right? And with that mission, bodhisattvas of the earth were emerged from beneath the Saha world, correct? Now, that is what the question is. If that was the fundamental objective of the Lotus Sutra, and the people who are going to fulfill this objective were none other than bodhisattvas of the earth. Um, these bodhisattvas of the earth, will continuously strive throughout their lives with a personal commitment to realize that fundamental goal of Lotus Sutra, to enable all people to attain Buddhahood. This is the true reason for transmission of the heritage of the ultimate law of life and death. If we talk about ceremony in the air, if we talk about the entrustment process in which the transmission happened from Shakyamuni Buddha to Bodhisattva superior practices in the presence of many treasures Buddha. So that was the true reason to enable all people to attain Buddhahood, right? And the heritage passed on in Lotus Sutra during ceremony in the air. So that we discuss in detail in chapter 2, correct? So if someone misses this key point, then no matter how much they might read Lotus Sutra, they effectively shut themselves off from the heritage of attaining Buddhahood. So the Lotus Sutra proclaims that countless such genuine practitioners are sure to appear in the later day of the law. And who are these people? They are none other than Bodhisattvas of the earth. Correct? Now, why bodhisattvas of the earth? The next question arises. The first question was, what was the fundamental objective? We understood that. Who are going to fulfill that objective? We understood that. Now let's talk about what are the qualities, what makes them so extraordinary that they are the people who were the chosen one, right? So why bodhisattvas of the earth? What are the key characteristics of the bodhisattvas of the earth? So the key characteristics are that they are the one realizing the fundamental objective of Lotus Sutra by working in the later day of the law, and they are the one who going to imparting the light of hope to the people who are suffering. They are the people who are full of compassion and courage and unwavering belief in the potential for good that resides in each person. And they are the one who persevere in conducting sincere dialogue and never cease in their efforts to awaken others Buddha's natures. So that are the key characteristics, and they are sure to emerge in the latter day of the law. And we all who are practicing are none other than bodhisattvas of the earth. And our mission, maybe I'm a doctor, engineer, CA, businessman, salaried, housewife, no matter what, whosoever I am, in different bodies, but fundamentally we all are bodhisattvas of the earth, and we have a single minded mission of realizing the fundamental objective of Lotus Sutra by working in the later day of the law. And we all have these characteristics, that we are people of infinite hope, we have a deep compassion and courage, we believe in the innate potential of each person, and we continue to persevere even in the challenging environment, right? And we have all this quality, because we are led by none other than Bodhisattva superior practices. And of course, these are some fantastic qualities, isn't it? And why wouldn't be, as we are led by none other than Bodhisattva superior practices? In the name, if you look at the name itself, the name itself have a superior practices in it. So the idea is that Bodhisattvas of the earth who put the things into practice, and not just practice but superior practices. So to apply, to put the mystic law in latter day of the law, who else can do it better than us? The crux of the heritage of the ultimate law of life and death can be found in the practice of mentor and disciple, demonstrated by the Bodhisattvas of the earth, who are led by Bodhisattva superior practices. This is the ultimately backbone of heritage of the ultimate law. Got it? So qualities of bodhisattvas of the earth, this is something which we have read in read in detail in chapter 2, that they bodhisattvas of the earth has certain characteristics, certain qualities. They have a quality of power of wisdom, they have a power of faith, which is also power of heart, and like we discussed, they have a power of faith and power of heart to substitute faith for wisdom, and they have a power of practice. These three define the life condition and mission of these bodhisattvas, right? Now, just to delve a little on power of wisdom, it means what? It means uh, they can guide everyone to connect to Nichiren Buddhism. They are experts of art of life, wisdom and action based on the profound philosophy, and believe that both they and other possess Buddha nature. That is something you cannot understand just by intellectually. You need to be a wiser person to really understand that all people possess the Buddha nature, and that is what the wisdom. When we say that bodhisattvas of the earth have power of wisdom, it means they have a power of wisdom to articulate right thing at the right time, able to convince people not just based on the intellectual but based on connecting with life. And that's the reason it is called, they have a mastery in art of life, and they have a strong belief based on the wisdom that everyone possesses Buddha nature. They have a power of faith, which basically means substituting faith for wisdom. So if I have to convince someone, it's not a debate or it's not a religious discussion, but it is truly transforming someone's life. That can only come when we connect with that life, and before even connecting, the most important thing is connecting with heart. And that is the reason it is a power of heart, power of faith, that each one of the bodhisattvas of the earth have, and they derive the wisdom based on that faith to talk in a right manner, in a right structured manner. Just like Daishonin, when he talks to Shijo Kingo, he will talk in a different tone vis-a-vis Najo Tokimitsu, and when he has to talk to Sarenbo, he will go more deep, because that's how we know the person will get convinced, right? So that is the one. And what other faith they have? So when we say they have a power of faith, so the faith in the fact that their life, the life of the Lotus Sutra and Shakyamuni Buddha, they are no difference, they all embody the mystic law. And what is the meaning of substituting faith for wisdom? It means that when you truly believe in the Buddhahood of everyone and you have deep compassion, then when you conduct sincere dialogue with this faith, then you naturally will be able to articulate in a right manner. The wisdom will come forth on its own to conduct dialogue. However, if you go other way around, talking to someone intellectually, then no matter how best orator you are, or best knowledge, or doctor, PhD you are in Buddhism, you will never be able to connect with the life. So that is the meaning of substituting faith for wisdom. The next quality which we discussed earlier was power of practice. By design, they are led by none other than Bodhisattva superior practice. So the leader himself is a person who put the things into the task, and they are highly persevere in conducting sincere dialogue, and they never cease in their efforts to awaken others Buddha nature. Working, they are the one who are working in the letter day of the law, imparting the light of hope to the people who are suffering. They are the protagonist in the efforts to help everyone gain enlightenment, right? Therefore, one has a deep inner awareness that one is a bodhisattva of the earth, and stand up together with the mentor in faith to carry out this mission. So this is the meaning of power of practice. Moving forward, practice as lifeline in Buddhism. So everything said and done, I understood that Namyo Renge-kyo is the mystic law, but ultimately the proof lies in pudding. So that basically means what? I need to start practicing, and that is a lifeline of Buddhism, right? So ultimate heritage entrusted only to Bodhisattva superior practices. Why is it so? Because he was a direct disciple of Shakyamuni from remote past. That's what we discussed in chapter 2 as well. The other reason was that these are the right folks who understood the mutual possession of 10 worlds and specifically trained for the latter day of the law. That is the most important thing, because the latter day of the law is a time of full of evil and defiled and devilish function overtaking the Buddha function. At that point of time, in the current time, it is the Ananda and Shariputra of the disciples cannot able to propagate Buddhism in the latter day of the law. That's the reason Nichiren Daishonin was entrusted by Shakyamuni Buddha, or for that matter, Bodhisattva superior practices, to really focus on the latter day of the law. That is the compassion of Shakyamuni Buddha. He was not just thinking about his lifetime or the immediate 100 year, but he was thinking about next 1,000 year, 2,000 years, and for the eternity. Right. So like we discussed in early chapter, that there were many different types of bodhisattvas appeared in Lotus Sutra. However, Shakyamuni Buddha entrusted the ultimate heritage of law of life and death to only bodhisattva superior practices, because they are the only one. First of all, they were direct disciple of Shakyamuni Buddha from remote past. They were trained specifically and they are the only one who understood the mutual possession of 10 worlds. So these are the few characteristics. That's the reason they were the chosen one. And when we talk about Nichiren Daishonin, so what Nichiren Daishonin did afterward was, so there is one quotation from Nichiren Daishonin, that the important point is to carry out your practice confident that Namyoho Renge Kyo alone is the heritage that was transferred from Shakyamuni and many treasures Buddha to Bodhisattva superior practices. So Nichiren Daishonin, what he did was, the fantastic thing was, he distilled the Lotus Sutra in the form of a mantra Namyoho Renge Kyo, and he really understood the entrustment process, that when Shakyamuni Buddha entrusted, what exactly he meant by entrustment, right? And that's what Nichiren Daishonin is saying, that that entrustment process, that passing of the baton, is none other than mystic law. When we truly believe and practice exactly as taught, then ultimately we will be able to attain Buddhahood. And practicing with the same spirit as the Bodhisattva superior practices, who was taught by none other than Shakyamuni Buddha in the remote past. So that is the compassion, level of compassion which um, Shakyamuni Buddha had, and that's the reason the entrustment process happened for the later day of the law. Now, we already discussed that the nature of universe is none other than compassion. But when we say that the true nature of universe is compassion, why do we say so? Right? Because universe, through its five elements, nurture, care, and nourish every life, and that's why universe is compassion. The same nature of universe is demonstrated by Namyoho Renge Kyo. So when we start chanting Namyoho Renge Kyo, it also nurture our life, it nourishes and it revives our life, right? That's the reason Nichiren said that cluster of blessings brought by the Bodhisattvas of the earth, disciple of Buddha in his true identity. So what is the true identity of Buddha? So Gautam Buddha was not the true identity. The true identity is Buddha from the remote past, right? So we are the disciples of Gautam Buddha, or Buddha from the remote past, or Buddha of the true identity. And whatever the qualities of compassion which universe has, all those qualities you can obtain. What is the universe? Nurture, nourish, and revive. Similarly, when we chant Namyo Renge-kyo, we get nurtured, we get revived, and we get nourished. And so, what are the key five elements of the universe and how it corresponds to Namyo Renge-kyo? Let's quickly understand that. So, the five elements of earth are, which corresponds to function, which ultimately has the same characteristics of Myoho Renge Kyo, are fire, water, wind, earth, and heaven or space. So fire, what does fire does? Fire burns impurities and it gives light. Water, it does the cleaning act, it cleanses, it purifies. What does wind does? Wind helps us breathe life, it gives us the life force, it clears dust. Earth nourishes growth. And space, it provides moisture, it provides water, ultimately, right? It provides the necessary moisture and the place to live, correct? And this, ultimately, these all qualities are um, by none other than which are provided by Namyoho Renge Kyo, the mystic law itself. Before dwelling further, we talked about that bodhisattvas of the earth as disciples of eternal Buddha. There are some spelling mistakes, please pardon me. um, so why did we say so, that bodhisattvas of the earth are the disciples of the eternal Buddha? Because we are disciples of Buddha's true identity. During the ceremony in the air process, bodhisattvas of the earth immersed beneath the Saha world, because they were always there in this earth. However, they were one with the mystic law before they emerged, and they were specifically trained by Buddha, eternal Buddha, in the remote past. So that is the true identity of Buddha. Siddharth becoming Gautam Buddha was one of the expedient means by which Gautam Buddha showed the enlightenment or awakening process. But that is what, however, he attained Buddhahood in remote past. That means we all have a dominant life state of Buddha inherited from remote past as well. So that is the meaning of that. The other key word here is we all possess inner enlightenment, which is rooted in the mystic law. So what is the meaning of inner enlightenment here? right? So inner enlightenment means that we already possess the life state of Buddhahood, that is awakened to the mystic law. So we all are inner enlightened. It's just that when we start chanting, it instantly gets manifested. So we have a life state which is already awakened to the mystic law. Think of it like that: we have a Bodhisattva Buddha who exists with mission. So we are Buddha because we are already awakened, and we are working the life state of Buddha through Bodhisattva way. That is something we also discuss in chapter 1. And the main target is we to activate the Buddhahood in others and work through one-on-one and life-to-life interaction. So that is what we do, and we are the one who are the possessors of the original law as well. Why? Because um, Bodhisattvas of the earth who practice Namyoho Renge-kyo, they already possess the mystic law through one-on-one, life-to-life interaction, reaching out to Buddha nature of others with their own Buddhahood. So we are the one who are the we hold the essential and original law. We practice Namyoho Renge-kyo to awaken inherent Buddhahood, and we enable others to discover their own infinite power. And that is our mission: awakening humans in the later day of the law. And we are the master of propagation in the latter day. So yeah, so think of it like that. There is no deity or there is no one coming from transcendental world to save us or to give us the awakening or enlightenment, right? So uh, so there is no enlightenment arises from above, no salvation coming from above, and enlightenment arises from below, from ordinary people. What does it basically means? That no matter what karma others may be struggling with, one can only really lead them to enlightenment by awakening them to the fact that the power to break through that karma already exists within their lives. So the enlightenment has to be arise from within, from below, within. It's not something coming from the outside. And only Bodhisattvas of the earth possessing the essential or original law, and they are able to bring about this awakening, and they are the true leaders of true leaders for Kosen Rufu in evil age. So lot of lot of good things about Bodhisattvas of the earth. The chapter in itself discuss the chapter in itself titled Bodhisattvas of the earth, and most importantly, it is something talking about the rationale behind Bodhisattvas of the earth, the characteristics, and why the nature of the universe is something which is replicated in the mystic law, and mystic law has to be propagated only through the collective efforts of the bodhisattvas of the earth in the latter day of the law. So that is what it is. And like we discussed, that karma can be only broken through inner transformation. We need to not seek outside. There is no deity or there is no transcendental Buddha coming from outside to help us or to handle or tackle our karma, right? So there is no utterly possibility that salvation will come from above. So when we say come from above, it basically means it's not something which is coming from the grace of a transcendental Buddha or descending from the heavens. People can become aware of the infinite power existing within their own lives only by encountering bodhisattvas of the earth who have emerged from the lower region, that is the world of truth, that is, in other words, from below, continually striving in an evil age to transform their own lives and the lives of others with the goal of achieving Kosen Rufu. As such, they are Bodhisattva Buddha. So there is a terminology which may come in the exam also. What is the meaning of Bodhisattva Buddha? So they are Buddha. They are inherently Buddha. However, they are operating as a Bodhisattva so that they can awaken other people also in the latter day of the law, right? Now, moving forward, Nichiren Daishonin was none other than Bodhisattva superior practices, correct? That's something we have already understood. That Nichiren goes on to compare in this particular chapter. Nichiren goes on to compare himself to Bodhisattva superior practices. Why? Because Nichiren Daishonin was the first to stand alone and take his life on spreading mystic law as a votary of the Lotus Sutra in the latter day of the law. In this way, he demonstrated that his mission and behavior accorded with that of Bodhisattva superior practices, whom Shakyamuni in the Lotus Sutra entrusted with propagating the sutra's teaching in the latter day of the law. And in fact, he changed his name also to Nichiren, meaning sun lotus. And as a votary of the Lotus Sutra, he persevered in his efforts to save people from suffering. So that is the reason Nichiren is identifying himself with the bodhisattvas of the earth. And something a word we again and again talked about is becoming bodhisattva buddhas. What does it basically means? So the Daishonin revealed and spread Namyo Rengekyo in order to make it possible for all people to achieve this state of life, right? Now, by deeply believing in Namyo Rengekyo and practicing exactly as the Daishonin teaches, any person can attain the life state of a bodhisattva buddha. By comparing himself to Bodhisattva superior practices, he is urging Siren Bo to practice Namya or Rengekyo in the same spirit as himself and in accord with his teachings. Right. So when we start practicing as Nichiren teaches, we ourselves become Bodhisattva Buddhas. We awaken our own Buddhahood. Then we work on Bodhisattva way, where we practice for oneself and practice for others. Right. Now, earlier we talked about the five elements and their beneficial working. So this is something very important that can, from the exam's point of view also. So before going to that, let's understand what exactly Nichiren means when he said to practice Namyo Rengekyo accord with his teachings. So for that, let's again get back to the elements, right? These five elements, and understand the inherent functions of nature represented by the five elements, right? So fire, what fire was doing? Fire was what to burn and give light, right? So basically, what does fire does? It produces light which illuminates. Water, what water was doing? It was to wash away filth. It means it cleanses and purifies the life. What does wind do? Wind blows away dust and breathe life into plants, animals, and human beings. So it clears away dust and animating force, right? All the negative forces it do away with. Earth, the fourth element which we just read, it produces grass and trees. It nourishes, right? It nurtures the life. So that is similar to nurturing the life. And when we talk about heaven or sky or space, it provides nourishing moisture, which basically means it causes rain to fall. It nourishes and sustaining all things. So these five elements are value creating functions that serve some beneficial purpose, right? Now, these five elements are similar to the five characteristics of Namyo Renge-kyo, and whatever beneficial workings of universe, they are the same beneficial workings of Namyo Renge-kyo. The compassion of universe is the essence of the function of Myoho Renge-kyo. That's the reason Nichiren Daishonin say it is a cluster of blessings brought by bodhisattvas of the earth, enabling people to bring forth in their character and actions the compassionate workings inherent in life, right? And that is the ultimately we have discussed it earlier also. The reason we are able to practice is because of the deep compassion we have for the humanity, and and more your faith get deepen, the more your prayers will become deeper, and more you will become more outward and try to help other people to get awakened as well, right? So this is very important. So five elements: fire, water, wind, earth, and heaven. Whatever, what all the characteristics they have, these all are the characteristics of Namyo Renge Kyo as well, because it does all the things. It illuminates our life, it gives us nourishment, it purifies our life, it cleanses our life, right? So overall both are similar, and that's the reason we are able to tap the life force of universe, which is compassion, and that compassion ultimately gives rise to courage, wisdom, to take the actions and able to change the karma. And when we change karma, then we change our ultimately we take the right actions and able to change our karma. So that's how the entire cycle works. So while from that point of view, there is a concept of four great bodhisattvas which was taught in OTT, orally transmitted teachings. So similar to five elements, how Namyo Rengekyo is function, similar to five elements, it is mentioned that bodhisattva of the earth had four leaders. So think of it like that. At the ceremony in the air, bodhisattva superior practice was entrusted. However, there apart from bodhisattva superior practices, there were other three leaders also which, think of it like that, representing the four directions, correct? What are the names of these four bodhisattvas? They were named superior bodhisattva superior practices, bodhisattva boundless practices, bodhisattva pure practices, and bodhisattva firmly established practices. And combine these four bodhisattvas ultimately corresponds to the five elements which we just talked about, and they also correspond to the virtues which we read in the last chapter, and we are going to read it again. So what were the virtues? Can anyone tell me? The virtues were eternity, happiness, true self, and purity. These universal qualities transcend four sufferings of birth, aging, sickness, and death. Remember, we talked about when the treasure tower came up, it has four sides. Four sides represented birth, aging, sickness, and death. However, treasure tower was full of jewels, full of glory, and full of light. Why? Because birth, aging, sickness, and death has been changed to eternity, happiness, true self, and purity. And these four sides, and there were four bodhisattvas: bodhisattva superior practices, bodhisattva boundless practices, pure practices, and firmly established practices. One thing common across all the name is practices. So that is what bodhisattvas of the earth are also doing in the letter of the law, taking one of those characteristics of these four bodhisattvas. What are the characteristics of this board, or what are the function of these bodhisattvas? Let's quickly understand. Now, so Bodhisattva superior practices, it corresponds to the element fire, and it is the function of Bodhisattva practices was to burn away earthly desire that gives rise to sufferings, and illuminate the darkness of ignorance in people's life, and to dispel the clouds of karma. So what does the function of fire? The function of fire was to burn and illuminate. So similarly, when the function Bodhisattva superior practices corresponds to his fire, and what does it do? It burns away our earthly desire, which gives us rise to suffering. And it, when it burns, it illuminates the darkness of ignorance in people's life. And there is a one term called to transcend two types of death. So what is the meaning of transcending two types of death? It basically means moving beyond the two forms of transmigration, and instead repeating the cycle of birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. So there are two types of death we need to transcend. One type of death is in the lower six world, and one type of death in the upper three worlds, and we have to ultimately get into the realm of Buddhahood. So that is something also a function of Bodhisattva superior practices. So this is a state. So what exactly? Let me ponder over it for a minute more. So this is a state of being in which both life and death are filled with joy. When we talk about the realm of Buddhahood, right, in which one undergoes cycle of birth and death with a real and profound sense of life's eternity. The Bodhisattvas of the earth can reside in this truly autonomous state of life because they live in accord with the eternal mystic law, right? So there are two terms here: transmigration with differences and limitation, which means living beings in the six paths, and transmigration with change and advance, which means people of the voice hearer and cause awakened one, people who are in the learning realization phase. So we have to transcend from the lower worlds, which basically means the transcending with differences and limitation, and the other is transmigration with change and advance. Some technical terms, but we need to go through it and understand it properly. Now, the second bodhisattva is bodhisattva pure practices. That corresponds to water, because what does water does? Water purifies, it cleanses. So that is a function of it. It brings forth the pure life state of Buddhahood, which is unsullied by evils and impurities of the world, right? And what kind of a life state it embodies? It embodies a life state which is overcome the five categories of illusion and entanglements. So that is a term which we really need to understand. So basically, it means freeing oneself of the five types of abiding earthly desires. So basically, doing away with the cleaning our life, purifying our lives, getting the Buddhahood out, which is unsullied by the impurities of the world. And what are the impurities of the world? When we are in the delusion, and of the five types of abiding earthly desire that cause living being in the threefold world to become attached to life. Some technical terms I'm saying again, but it is what it is. We need to understand that. Third is Bodhisattva boundless practice. So it corresponds to wind. Wind is also boundless. Yeah, you cannot capture the wind. It flows. It is boundless. So you can put the air in a jar. You can put that air in a room, and you can put that air in a the universe. It fills everything. So that just a way to understand what corresponds to what. So what does the function of Bodhisattva boundless practices? It corresponds to wind, and it blows away, sweep away all delusions and worries, and establish a brilliant state of absolute freedom that is never deadlocked. So when you chant all these bodhisattvas quality, all these functions will start operating in your life. Earthly desires burn away. In fact, they will become the source of enlightenment. Your life will you will be able to challenge the karma. Your life state uplift, and you will never be deadlocked in your life. So right. So the life state embodied is to go beyond the two opposing ways of annihilation and continuing as it is, and understand eternity of life. So basically means a state of life that is free of attachment to life or fear of death, transcending the mistaken view of annihilation and permanence. So that is how it is embodying that particular phenomena. And the last one is Bodhisattva firmly established. So firmly, what is the firm, what is the strongest, and what is the rooted thing in the four element, in the five element? That was earth, right? So basically, it functions to sweep away the sufferings caused by earthly desires, eliminate the illusions of birth and death, and nurture all things with abundant life force. So that is one of the functions. So when we chant, we burn away the earthly desires, we make them actually a source of enlightenment. We are able to tackle karma, we are never deadlocked, we are able to well forth the impure, completely pure state, unsullied state of Buddhahood within our life, and we get all the abundant life force. And ultimately, the life state it embodies is the one which is as perfect in virtue as Bodhi tree. What does it basically means? That basing oneself on the complete and perfect life state of Buddha's enlightenment. So this characteristics expresses the transformative function within people's lives. So this is something which is already there in your life, right? And which basically underlie the principle of earthly desires are enlightenment and the sufferings of birth and death are nirvana. The word practice in the name of fourth bodhisattva basically alludes to efforts that are directed towards inner transformation. So when we look within ourselves, when we start changing from within, all these qualities, all these corresponding qualities of the universe, we start seeing within our life, right? So this basically completion of the chapter 10. In the last slide there were a lot of things. I would highly recommend understand the five elements, the corresponding four bodhisattvas, and what functions they play, and there are some terminologies here, the life state they embody, right? So just to summary, that the all functions of nature are nothing but compassion, which is nothing but mystic law. Bodhisattvas of the earth are the one who have been given task to awaken people in the latter day of the law, and their actions bring actual joy and transformation. And the true essence of Bodhisattva way is human revolution, practicing for oneself and practicing for others. That means Kosundofu. With that, we have completed chapter 10. Thank you very much.